Hi there.
How's it going, Stephanie?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. How's your day been?
Good. How about yours?
Very good, very good.
All right.
Getting situated here. I think my mom's getting into her videos off. And then I had one girl, the other Stephanie, her laptop's dead, so she didn't have enough space to download the app, so she'll be on next Tuesday. But
Oh, dang. Okay.
other than that, it sounds like most people should be here. So I checked in with everybody today, trying to kind of remind them and everything.
Wow. Good for you. So organized.
Well, I've just noticed people forget, so. Oh, let me text my mom and see if she can hear us. Can you hear us? So yeah, I'm super excited. Brenda's super, super pumped. So she's been looking forward to this for like 3 weeks.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Your eyelashes look beautiful.
Oh,
This is exciting. I'm excited to lose some weight.
awesome.
All right, here's Brenda. Hello, Brenda. Can you hear us? Sweet. Awesome. Got a couple more minutes.
Can you see me?
Negative.
Oh, that's okay.
It's okay.
I can't figure that part out. I can hear
It's
you.
working.
guys.
We're doing good. We're doing good. Few more minutes. Did you guys just go on a trip, Stephanie?
Yes, we did.
Where'd you guys go to?
We went to New Mexico.
Oh, awesome. Was that
Yeah.
for your son or for your daughter?
Our daughter, our
Oh.
granddaughter just turned 2, so we went for her birthday.
Awesome. That's fun.
Yeah.
And Hannah just joined on here. She's connecting to the audio. Can you hear us, Hannah? All right, awesome, cool. And then I have one other girl, Shelby. She just left the gym. She said she'll be 5 minutes late into joining, so we can start without her. But it could just be a few more. I guess it's just turned 7:15. Here's Kirsten. Hello, Kirsten. Can you hear us? All right, awesome. Perfect. Should give them maybe like one more minute, then we could get going. 1, 2. There's another. So this is Shirley joining. Hey, Shirley, how's it going? Can you hear us? Oh, she's still joining. All right, perfect. Hey, Shirley, how's it going? Should be a couple more. Maybe one more minute. Kayla, that's the other one. I'll send her a message. Well, what do you think, Stephanie? Should we get started? And then if they join,
Let's go ahead.
all right, go for it.
Hi there. Go ahead, Jess.
Oh, hey guys. So this is Stephanie that I've been telling you guys all about. So she's going to be leading your guys' class tonight.
All right. So I met Jess. I don't know, how many years ago did I meet you, Jess?
Probably 2 or 3, I would say.
Yeah. And it was great to get to know him. I knew his mom. And so he had started his gym, so I was going to help him with his gym. And so that's how we met. He's been an A student. I had an accounting and bookkeeping firm. So I helped him kind of get started with his business. And just this is my passion, is to help people. So I wanted to welcome all of you, and I'm excited for this opportunity that Jess has given us to spend the next 6 weeks or so together, learning about our mind and how it affects our health and fitness. My name is Stephanie Anderson. I'm a life and business coach, but most importantly, I am someone that suffered with overeating, overexercising, and pushing myself most of my life to look and feel differently about my body and weight loss, all the while not looking into my mind and the important part it plays in my self-acceptance and long-term changes. So I've created this course to help each of you begin to handle eating and your thoughts and feelings about yourself differently. Feel free to take notes and add your own insights based on what I share. My job is to show you your mind, and your job is to look at how your thoughts and feelings are affecting your life. This is how the class will be structured. We'll spend a little bit of time on a new concept each week, followed by a Q&A session. And then I would like to bring on 1 or 2 people each week to coach you on anything you're struggling with. We'll end each session promptly at 1 hour, and we'll record the session in case you have a conflict or if you want to watch it again. So let's begin. This is the overeating workshop, and I want to tell you a little history about the problem and how we got here. So over the past 30 years or so, our culture has created overhunger and overdesire. And so it started with Ancel Keys. He was a psychologist in the 40s, and he thought that he found a connection between cholesterol and heart disease, and thought that if we changed the way we eat, we wouldn't have a problem with heart disease. And so he developed this program, and he also helped develop the diet and drug therapies for heart disease. This led to the low-fat craze diets. I don't know if you guys were ever on that diet, but there's still people that think if they eat low-fat, that's going to help them get to a diet goal or weight loss that they want. At the time, there was another gentleman who wrote a book. His name was John Yudkins, and he wrote a book about sugar, and it was called Pure, White, and Deadly, which theorized that sugar was the cause of heart disease. But his studies were largely ignored. Everyone, according to Keys, was to avoid fat, eggs, butter, and meat in their diets. And so over the years, that's kind of what we slowly moved towards. Our doctors recommended we eat that way. And then Keys later retracted that. So interestingly enough, he lived for 100 years, and he ate mainly the Mediterranean diet. So he didn't live by avoiding all kinds of fats and meat and things like that. So in 97, he said that they knew all along that they were wrong. So that was kind of interesting. And so in the book that Yudkins wrote, he theorized that sugar was bad and fructose was the culprit of heart disease. But the damage had been done. We were all eating sugar and flour and low fat. And so that increased the acceptance in packaged low fat and high sugar foods. We were never taught, the other problem that we have on top of that is we were never taught to manage our emotions. We don't know how to cope with negative emotions as a society and people. We are in an evolutionary transition based on the motivational triad. And that motivational triad is to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and reduce efforts to complete it, to reduce the effort. So that's what we're always thinking about. Our brain is always thinking about. We have 2 parts of our brain when we think about food and us having control over our cravings and things like that. And so all the food marketing is based on that motivational triad of us taking advantage of that to seek the pleasure, avoid pain with the least amount of effort. And you'll also notice that all entertainment now involves large amounts of food. We have come to believe that it's perfectly normal to overeat and have food at every event, food and alcohol in large portions as well. If you take the size of a soda, for example, in the 70s, the average size of a soda was 6 ounces. And now fast forward today, and it's about 26 ounces at a restaurant. We're told to eat 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, and we should eat first thing in the morning upon waking, and we find ourselves snacking in front of the TV or computer in the evening. Overeating has become a way to avoid pain, seek pleasure. It's an acceptable buffer. What is buffering or a buffer? Buffering is using an activity to avoid negative feelings or emotions like shopping, drinking, alcohol, watching Netflix, YouTube, porn, and overworking. That's what buffering is, and we'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. Our brains are designed to be rewarded for life-preserving activities. This is called our primitive brain or lizard brain. Its main job back in the day was to keep us alive, to take activities we do over and over and make them automatic. Like driving to work, the primitive brain takes over the action of getting in the car, going out into traffic, and getting you to work without you needing to manage any of it. Or like brushing your teeth. You no longer have to think about putting the toothpaste on your toothbrush, adding water, brushing your teeth. The primitive brain just takes over and does this for us. And it likes to do that. It likes to have things that we do over and over and over, so it can say, hey, I can do this for you. You don't have to worry about it. That these are higher brain, the thought part of our brain. And so again, that part of the brain is to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and use the least amount of energy possible. And we're used to doing that with so much of our brain. Our brain has about 60,000 thoughts a day, and we don't even realize it. We don't realize what our brain is thinking about us and saying to us over and over. And it's always talking to us, and it's not usually saying nice things to us about us. The food we eat is a reward in the form of serotonin, dopamine, and desire. It's a small hit in our brain that says, that felt good, do it again. All the cues around food create neural pathways that remind us how important it is to eat that food again and again. When you concentrate and refine food, which is what we've done, that concentration is a response in your brain. It leads your brain to believe that concentrated foods are much more important to keep eating than they really are. Dopamine creates more and more desire for the food, and as we eat it, the flood of dopamine downregulates the receptors, which means that we need more and more, kind of like drugs. As we eat those condensed foods that are high in sugar and flour, it takes more and more to curb that desire. The more you do something, the more you practice it, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. Eventually, we get so good at that, it becomes an unconscious habit delegated to our unconscious or primitive brain. This is why we often feel out of control, or if we're eating against our own will. This is never true. It just feels that way sometimes. I don't know if you've ever had gone into the kitchen to eat a cookie, and then all of a sudden you realize you've eaten the whole package and you didn't even remember doing it. You just see the empty package and think, oh my gosh, what happened? That's our brain doing that. Our brains are reprogrammable though, so we don't have to stay with those thoughts and those feelings. We can change these ingrained pathways by replacing them with new ones and interrupting the old thoughts by changing actions and denying that reward. Our hormones also play a part in this, and there are 3 main hormones to consider when it comes to weight gain and weight loss. The most important hormone is insulin, and I know Jess did a video about insulin not too long ago. I don't know if you watched it or not. And you're reading and hearing a lot more about it than you ever used to. The obesity epidemic is caused by too much insulin in the blood. Insulin is a storage hormone, and when it's elevated in the blood, the body cannot burn or utilize fat as fuel. It stores the fat for later. Insulin resistance, and diabetes have skyrocketed with the increased consumption of high sugar and high starch foods. Insulin also affects the presence and the effectiveness of ghrelin and leptin. Those are two other hormones that we'll learn about. Leptin is a hormone that lets us know when we're full and we don't need to eat more. It also lets us know it's time to move or exercise. It's blocked in our brain when we have excess insulin in our blood. Ghrelin lets us know when we're hungry or no longer hungry. It is negatively affected by the concentrated food because it doesn't recognize the caloric intake of those foods, especially in liquid form. So when you think about drinking a 400 or 500 calorie Frappuccino or mocha from Starbucks, ghrelin doesn't get a chance to jump into action and say, hey, wait a minute, we don't need any more food, we're full. The other thing is stopping over hunger. The solution is to reduce hunger and desire to natural states so you can weigh your natural weight. We do this by eliminating sugar and flour, planning our meals in advance for fuel, and doing coaching work on our brains on what is left over. Solving over hunger. Physical hunger is a sensation you get in waves gradually in your body. Your body cannot tell the difference between hunger and thirst in your body. It's always best to drink 16 ounces of water before you eat anything when you feel hungry. It may be water your body desires. After 15 minutes or so, if the hunger comes back, then you know that you have given your body the water first and it is hungry. Cravings are simply a desire for a specific food or type of food. Withdrawal is a mental and physical sensation we feel in our body from a lack of sugar. Emotions are vibrations caused by thoughts in our head. Understanding hormones to understand hunger. When you get hungry, normally it comes on as a wave, then retreats again. If you don't eat right away, your body will access fat storage in your body for fuel. If you have too much insulin in your blood, your body will be unable to access the fat stores and will get hungrier. When you have too much insulin in your blood, it blocks the leptin. The leptin is what lets your brain know that you are full. It lets your brain know you have plenty of fat storage and you don't need to keep eating. I think it's been said that most of us have about 45 days worth of calories on our body on average if we didn't even eat anything. Of course, that's not a good idea, but it just kind of gives you an idea of how much fat we have in our bodies that we can use for fuel. Ghrelin lets us know when we're hungry and when to stop being hungry. It works with the volume of food you eat and the amount of fat in the food. Eating lots of refined food keeps ghrelin from working properly. So what we need to do is we need to balance our hormones. And the goal is to keep the insulin as low as possible. Insulin is raised every time we eat, and insulin drops when we're not eating. Insulin is artificially raised when we eat sugar and flour. Because of the density of the food and how it's processed, all prepackaged and prepared foods are handled that way. Insulin is released in response to a large amount of glucose response in the blood. Liquid sugar in soda is one of the main culprits in insulin excess. This includes diet soda because our body can't tell the difference between natural or real sugar and fake sugar. By eating little to no sugar and flour, insulin drops drastically. By eating less often, we give insulin a chance to drop and resensitize. Leptin starts working and ghrelin adjusts. Vegetables are a priority on our lifestyle eating plan. Fat, we need good fats in every meal to create a feeling of satisfaction. We also need to limit our protein because excess protein can raise our insulin and be stored as fat. We also need to limit our grains and eat less rice, oats, and pastas. The way the food is processed today is so much different than it was when we were children. Hunger needs to rebalance with hormones. There's a doctor, he's dedicated his life to changing the way we eat, and his name is Dr. Mark Hyman. I have reference information on a piece of homework that has his name on it. So you could look him up on Facebook, or you could look at his website, and he has tons of information about very simple ways to eat and tons of studies behind it to help if you had questions. But it's easy. You just want to keep it super simple. Veggies, fat, and protein at every meal. Cut out anything from a package or drive-up window. Eliminate coffee and alcohol. Eat veggies freely and limit the more starchy veggies like potatoes. Avoid anything with flour. Avoid anything with sugar. Avoid trans fats. Those are things that like chips or fries or non-dairy creamers or popcorn or anything that's processed or deep fried. And then all concentrated foods, including juices, smoothies, and alcohol. We call this lifestyle eating because eating this way with our major fuel source being body fat. You need to drink at least half your body weight in water plus 15 ounces every day. If you don't drink enough water, your body won't be able to access the fat in your body. Overhunger is caused by a hormone imbalance, cravings, and withdrawal. Your body knows exactly how much food it needs. And when you give it time to reset, it naturally comes back into line. And this helps keep those hormones in balance and the signals clear in your body. We have conditioned ourselves to be hungry when we aren't hungry just by seeing food or associating with certain foods or cravings. We've trained our bodies to become sugar burners. So we all have a little bit of sugar in our muscles. So in case, again, we had to run from some big animal, the saber-toothed tiger or something like that, it would give us that instant energy. And when we're not a sugar burner and a fat burner instead, it's called being fat adapted. And it takes a little bit more to gain access to that form of fuel, but it is a longer, sustainable fuel. So like if you're a marathon runner, you can teach your body to not need goo and things like that, but to eat the fat out of your body instead of the sugar. We have to force our bodies into a state of withdrawal and cravings by eating the good food, and then slowly over time, these things will go away. The goal is to reduce hunger, so you're only hungry for a very small amount of food that your body actually needs. And to use intermittent fasting is the best way to do that. The goal is to allow yourself to access those fat stores when you're hungry, so your body becomes fat adapted. Your main source of food when you're trying to lose weight needs to be your body fat. The more you can train your body to burn fat for fuel, the thinner you will be. You will know when you're fat adapted because you'll be able to go 12 to 16 hours easily without food or feeling an excess hunger. When you're not fat adapted, you eat all the time. Using hunger as a tool. We use what's called a hunger scale, which is a scale, if you looked on a graph that just goes from -10 to +10 and zeros in the middle. And -10 is when you're super hungry, you maybe even have a headache, and 10 is being stuffed. What we need to start to learn to do is eat between a -2 to a +2. This means eat before you're starving and stop eating before you're stuffed. This will take you asking yourself a question to access your hunger before eating. I know that this is a lot of information and not much on your emotions yet. I wanted to get this out of the way so we all have an understanding of terms and information. All right, so I have an assignment for each of you, and I will put that in the Zoom call so that you have access to it. But every morning, what I'd like you to start doing is sit with a notepad and write down everything you feel and are thinking currently. This isn't a to-do list, but to start to recognize what your brain is thinking and saying. In the beginning, you may have a difficult time gaining access to those 60,000 thoughts. As you do this, it will get easier. Take 5 to 10 minutes every morning as soon as you are able after getting out of bed. After you do this, it's called a thought download. Look it over. No judgment, just look. See if you start to see themes or patterns in your writings. This is for no one else to read, only you. And then in the evening, take another 5 to 10 minutes to think about how your day went in regards to your eating and exercise and water drinking. Any patterns you see? What are you proud of yourself for today? Can you think of 2 or 3 things? Write them down. This is your daily recap. As you see the positive about your day and you begin to be proud of yourself, your brain will pick up on this. This is a positive dopamine hit. Your brain will want to look for more things for you to be proud of for yourself. Just these 2 things, start this practice and take the time for you to think and be at peace. All right. Are there any questions about what I've shared today? Go ahead and raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Can we not have any coffee at all?
I'm sorry?
Can we not have any coffee at all?
I still drink coffee, but it does give you kind of an unnatural spike, the caffeine does. And so it's something to limit. So I drink about a half a cup of coffee now, and I used to drink like a quad Americano every day with sugar-free vanilla in it. So in moderation, but you're trying to help your body reset, and coffee is one of those stimulants, just like alcohol and, you know, Coke, Diet Coke and things like that. That was a good question.
Okay.
Anything else you guys have questions on?
Brenda.
Yes, Jess.
Oh, I thought you might have a question. I wasn't sure.
Just the fact that I've, like, everything she talked about is exactly what I do. And I'm like,
Okay, good. That is so good to hear. And I know that Jess has been really good about the diet plan, but I didn't know if everybody was following it or not.
when I don't fall off the wagon.
You don't fall off the wagon. Yeah. Okay, if there aren't any more questions, does anybody want to volunteer to be coached? This could be scary, but it's really good.
I will.
Okay, who
Lord
said
knows I
that?
need it.
Okay, Brenda. All right. Okay, Brenda. So what I want you to do is tell me something that is upsetting that's happened recently or it's reoccurring. So if you could just talk about it, and then I'm going to pick apart those thoughts and feelings that you have around that, whatever has occurred.
Well, we'll start with I'll make poor eating choices, which turns into an absolute snowball effect where I eat one bad thing, so then I beat myself up over it, and then I eat another bad thing, and it's like, before you know it, it's a week later, and now I've eaten trash food for an entire week, and I'm like, well, what? And I know better, but it's like I can't turn it off, and then the more that I eat bad, the more that I have negative self-talk, and the more that I can't turn it off.
Okay. But something stops you. What stops you?
Going to the gym and seeing Jess and being afraid of being a disappointment
Oh.
to not only my coaches, but my family and people who look up to me, because there are so many people that have seen my story and tell me how great they think I am. And then it's like, oh, if you only knew my struggles. So then it's like I feel guilty about it. And so then eventually I'm like, wow, I need to put the brakes on here and reset. And then, I mean, I have an amazing support system. My fiance is always like, what are we doing here? Like, we need to get this in check and let's work on this together. So that's that's usually what kind of flips me back into it. But it's like a vicious cycle that I've had in my life for as long as I can remember, where my weight is like a big yo-yo, and I'll lose a bunch and gain a bunch and lose a bunch and gain a bunch. And just when I am like right at my goal, then I'll just, it's like flushing it down the toilet, and I do with the same bad habits all over again until I'm right back where I started.
Okay. Yes, I can see how this is very frustrating, and a lot of people suffer with this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a circumstance, and the circumstance is the facts. It's not emotional. It's just the facts of the story that you told us. So that you told us a bunch of information, and that's a story. And now we're going to pull out the facts. And so when you were talking about that, I was writing down a few notes. And so I think the fact that I came up with is you make poor eating choices. Is there anything else about that story that you have a stronger connection to, that you think is of more importance?
No, it's mostly the food. It's like I have a total addiction to food sometimes, that it just
Okay.
is.
Okay. So it's not food, because we need food to fuel our body. So it's that you've made poor eating choices, and you don't do it all the time. And so now when this happens, when you've made some poor eating choices, and sometimes it continues, you said, for a while. Now, everything else that you told me around that are thoughts that you think in your head. They're just thoughts. They're not true. And so you said you have an addiction to food, which is just a thought, and that you beat yourself up, which is a thought, or it could be an action, something that you do. You eat trash food, and you said you can't turn it off. And so which one of those thoughts that I just shared with you is the strongest thought you have?
Probably just the food addiction.
Okay, so your
That
thought,
that I can't.
Okay, you can't control? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And so, but it's not as if it happens all the time. It only happens sometimes.
Right.
Okay. And so do you see that that's just your thought about food?
Yep.
You're eating food, you make a poor choice, you say to yourself, I have a food addiction. And then the feeling that you have from the food addiction, I wrote down 2 feelings, but it could be something else. I wrote down disappointment and guilty. Is there anything else that's stronger than those?
A lot of times it's that a strong dislike for myself in general is really strong when I eat like that.
Okay. And that's so sad, because you've come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have a dislike for yourself, it's sad. So does it feel like disappointment, or does it feel more like dislike? What is the feeling?
I think both are really strong.
Okay.
Probably now it's probably more disappointment.
Okay. So disappointment in yourself. Okay. And when you feel disappointed, what are some of the actions that you take?
It usually leads to me eating even more.
Okay.
Because I get in a cycle of thought process where I just can't snap myself out of it. And so it's like food has always been my comfort. So then when I feel bad or I'm stressed or whatever, food is where I turn.
Okay.
Which only leads to more disappointment.
Right. Okay. All right. And so then one of the good things that you do is you go back to the gym and you kind of get yourself reset. But the actions that you take is you eat even more bad food. You use food as a comfort. So that's an action. You feel bad or stressed. And so when you have when these actions happen, what is the result?
When I continue to eat or when I go to the gym?
Now, when you continue to eat, when you continue to have that negative thought of disappointment,
Then I just feel even more disappointed in myself.
you feel more disappointed. Okay. And so do you see that your result of feeling disappointed reinforces that you have a food addiction?
Mhm.
Okay. And so what this activity that we're doing right now is called a model. And so by thinking about this and separating it out, you start to see that you can choose any thought you want around food. Do you see that?
Mhm.
Okay. And so if we were to look 6 months down the road from here and you're at your goal weight and you're going to the gym, fairly consistent, what is the result that you would have?
As far as the way that I feel,
Well, if you were eating on a plan for the most part and not having this cycle of overeating and being disappointed, and what would the result be if you stayed on that plan?
I would feel good about myself.
Okay. Anything else?
I would be healthy and strong.
Okay. Be healthy and strong. Okay. All right. So we're looking at you 6 months from now. This is called your future self. And so when you feel good about yourself and healthy and strong, what are the actions that you take?
I eat clean. I go to the gym. Spend time with my family.
Okay. And when you're thinking about in the future, you're eating clean, you're going to the gym, and you're spending time with your family, how do you feel about yourself?
Proud.
Proud. Yeah. Yeah. So to feel proud, what are some thoughts you're going to have if you happen to overeat or you follow off your eating plan? What would be thoughts that come from being proud of yourself?
That one mistake doesn't define me.
Okay, that's a wonderful, wonderful thought. Okay, and so one mistake doesn't define you. And so what you have to do to achieve any goal is you have to start to spend more time in your future self, looking at yourself, being at your goal weight, going to the gym, and you have to help yourself, help your brain until it gets used to it. Feel those positive thoughts that just because you fell off the wagon or you made one mistake, that doesn't define you. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So people make mistakes, they eat the wrong food. And if you start to think that thought about yourself, that this is just one small mistake, it doesn't define me, and you feel proud of yourself for what you've done, and it's 6 months from now and you are just amazed, can you see the difference in what you'll do, your actions?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I talked about that thought download, one of the things that you can also do is you can start to think about, when I'm at my goal weight, how am I going to feel? What am I going to be wearing? What do I look like in my clothes? The other thing that you said is that you would, to feel better in the future, you would spend time with your family. And so what you can start to do is use that time with your family in a positive way instead of the food. Do you see that?
Yeah.
What would happen if you went to somebody and said, hey, can we go for a walk? Can I talk to you? Would that help you with slowing down eating? Or
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Was this helpful for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, it's just we all have neural pathways in our brain that have been set up because we've been doing the same thing over and over. And then you beat yourself up and you go back to not caring about yourself. And so it just continues to be this cycle, like a hamster on a wheel, and it doesn't have to be there. But what you have to start to do is take a minute. When you eat the wrong thing, you need to take a minute and think, I just made one mistake and it's okay. And then you have to know and you have to tell yourself that you are proud of yourself. Okay. And so this was called a model, and this is what we use to start to change the way we think about our thoughts, because they're going on all the time. And like I said before, if you start to notice how mean you are to yourself, then you can stop that. You can start to say, hey, wait a minute, that's not true, because you've accomplished something amazing already. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want to go through that process? Brenda was brave, because it's tough to do that, especially in the beginning.
How about Hannah?
I like that Jess is calling you guys out.
That's right.
What do you think, Hannah? You want to try it? Okay. So we just need to figure out, you're muted. Can you just say something? Maybe it took a minute for you to come on. Yeah.
Do you want to try Kirsten?
Oh, maybe it's
Okay.
working now.
There you go.
There you
We got Hannah now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Hannah. So what I'd like you to do is just, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So is there something that you've been struggling with lately that you would like to get some coaching on?
Sure. I always feel like I have to tell myself that like I won't be happy until I hit a certain spot. And so I try to set goals for myself, but then it terrifies me. Like my goal right now is to get to, a goal weight and be healthy, but then it terrifies me that if I got to that spot, then maybe what I expect to happen won't actually happen. I won't feel how I think that I'll feel.
Okay. All right. So what I got from that is that you have set some aggressive goals for yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have, so when we separate the story out and what you're telling yourself, the only thing that I see that's a fact is goal weight. And it's whatever that number is, that's your goal. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you said it terrifies you. Terror is a feeling in your body. So what are some thoughts about that goal that you've set? What do you think?
That I expect myself to look a certain way or feel a certain way about myself.
Okay. Because you think that when you get there, it'll be different than where you are right now. Is that what you're saying?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's very common. All right. Are there any other feelings besides terrified about that goal that you feel?
Excitement, I guess, because I've never accomplished that before a lot of different times. So it excites me that that's a possibility.
That's great. Okay. And so from that feeling of thinking that, or the thought, thinking that you're going to feel a certain way or you expect to look a certain way, does that make you feel excited or terrified?
Like both.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you feel terrified and excited, what are some of the
Mhm.
actions that you take?
If I feel excited about it, then I usually take better actions. I want to keep working out and keep eating healthy. But if I feel terrified, then it's the total opposite, where it almost feels like I sabotage myself, where I start to do good and then I fall backwards and eat the things I shouldn't eat, or don't exercise like I should exercise and do the things I know I should do.
Okay. Okay. So you either take the better actions or you sabotage yourself and you don't do what you know you need to do.
Hmm.
Okay. And so what is the result from those actions and that feeling that you're getting right now?
I either work harder for it or I just fall into old habits and uh just don't work for it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So again, we have to look at your future self when you actually get to your goal weight, which is a number that you've set out for yourself. So when you think about being at that goal weight, what feelings do you have about that goal weight?
Um, I feel happy and proud if I were to get there.
Okay. Okay. That's great. And if you felt happy and proud about hitting your goal, what would be the actions you would take?
I would just continue to eat the things that I know I should eat and exercise and make that a priority.
Okay. Does that excite you?
Yeah.
Okay. It does. Good. All right. And then to feel happy and proud about hitting your goal weight, what are the thoughts you need to have?
Just that I can do it basically, just keep telling myself that I can do it.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Um, I mean, that's like the major one, I think, is just faith in myself.
Okay. Great. Faith in yourself. That's wonderful. And so again, what you need to start to do is you need to start spending time thinking about yourself at your goal weight. What are you going to look like? What are you going to feel like?
Mm.
Um, a lot of times when people go to lose weight, they they hold off and they think when they get to that goal weight, they're not going to have any more feelings like they do now. But the truth is, you're going to have the same feelings. About half the time, you're going to be happy and motivated, and half the time, you're going to need to motivate yourself and do things you don't want to do. And that's just the reality of life. And so, what I want you to start to do though is visualize you being at that goal weight, jumping on the scale and it being there and thinking about how you're going to feel. Okay?
Mhm.
And then start to think those positive thoughts about yourself.
Okay.
Okay? Did this make a difference for you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Because this is our under our control, which is good news and bad news. Because our thoughts and feelings, we can change at any time. And that's the good news and the bad news, because a lot of us don't realize that we are in charge of our thoughts and feelings. And we allow ourselves, it's called punching yourself in the face, where you keep having negative thoughts about yourself. And that's just punching yourself in the face over and over. And you have to start thinking about different ways to be proud and to be okay with yourself, because it's easy to be negative and use our past to prove to us that we're not going to be different in the future. But we have to start thinking about in the future and not looking to our past for evidence, because it's not there. It's just not. And we can change the way we think and feel, and then that will move us forward into a more positive direction, not looking for evidence in our past that whatever has happened, because it doesn't matter. Okay.
Mhm.
Do you have any questions for me, anybody? No? I think we have time for one more. Anybody else want to try this?
I don't have a question, but that was excellent what you just said there.
Oh, good. What was that?
Just about using our past, you know, to prove to ourselves what's going to be happening in the future. So like, because I would say I'm guilty of that too, like thinking about the future, I'll use the past to prove, you know, whatever I'm trying to think. And so that's an excellent point.
Yes. And so I go back to running a marathon analogy because I decided years ago I wanted to run a marathon. And I think the furthest I'd ever run was like 3 miles because I just started running. I'm like, well, of course I want to run a marathon. And so that it freaked me out. And so I signed up with a group and all I did was run. I did what they told me to do, which was run. And then the miles got longer and longer. And then all of a sudden I ran 21 miles in one day. And that was how I knew I was ready. But I couldn't go look at the past to find evidence that I was a runner because I wasn't. And I kind of beat myself up thinking, why would I do this? This is really crazy. Because when you start running a lot of miles, just like when you start losing weight, there are other things that happen and you have to constantly readjust your mindset. And that's all that we're doing our whole lives. We can either just let it go on automatically in our brain and we listen to the same things it's telling us, or we start to think about new ways of doing it. And you guys have a great supportive opportunity with the gym and with Jess to come together and help each other out and be positive or talk about things differently. Because when Hannah, if you think about weighing a weight that maybe you haven't weighed for a long time, you're going to have different thoughts and feelings. You're going to have to look at it differently than, looking to your past, because whatever happened there, it doesn't matter. Today is the day that you can start to feel proud of yourself and know that you can reach that goal. And so it's not about, it's a little bit about having affirmations, but it's about living in that future self where you visualize, maybe you'll buy yourself some great clothes and you'll see yourself in those clothes, or you'll spend time differently. Like Brenda said, spending time with her family. And those are the things that are going to drive you to act and feel differently than just listening to the same old stuff that we tell ourselves every day. And the best thing to do is always be working on your mind, because that's where the growth happens. Because whatever you have set out to achieve as a goal, your mind will need to work it out first. And when you're telling your mind you're going to weigh a certain amount and this is how you're going to feel, your mind is going to go out and look for evidence that that's true. And it will start to make those changes before they ever show up on your body. So Jess, I have a homework assignment. Can you maybe make me the presenter so I can?
I think yes.
Or maybe I put it in the chat. Actually, maybe I can just put it in the chat.
I can make you the host here.
Okay.
Yep, I think it switched.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm just going to upload this file to you guys. Okay. And so I would like you to do this homework, and then I want to start working more on the mindset stuff than just talking about the food, because you guys already know this. You have it dialed in as far as the food. Any other questions about what I asked for homework, or any observations? No? So what's been happening since the gym is reopened?
Like just with me or with everybody?
With everybody.
It's been going good. Everybody's starting to creep back in and starting to get back. We're all starting to kind of get back into the habit of stuff. So it's been super good.
Good.
Just to have the routine and just kind of like life somewhat back to normal again. So I really like it.
Good.
Good to see everybody's faces again instead of virtual.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun.
Is everybody coming back, or is?
Pretty much, yes. And so it's been great.
Okay.
So
Good.
I have a couple of people still working out at home, but for the most part, everybody's back in.
Okay. Is everybody back to work, or are you guys still at home?
I'm a nurse, so I never got a day off.
Never got a day off. Yeah, bless you. Yeah. What about the rest of you? Hannah, are you back at the office? Are you still at home or?
No, I work in the medical field too, so we were on overtime.
Wow. Yeah. And Kirsten, what do you do? You're muted. Okay. Whoops. And I did that.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Absolutely.
Okay. I'm also in the medical field, so I didn't have time off.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So
Bless you all. That's a tough job. What about you, Kayla?
I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. So you're still in the trenches. Nothing changed. But now you have your kids 24/7, right? And now you're a teacher.
Yeah. Yep.
What about you, Shirley?
I did work at home for a while, so we just finally got back to work. They finally said we have to go back in the office, so we're back there. But I commend all of you nurses and everybody in the medical field. I think that's awesome.
And you have
Yeah.
looks like you have somebody over there on your side. It's kind of freezing there.
Yeah, she keeps wanting to peek in.
And Kim, you've been there the whole time, right?
Actually, they set me up so that I could work from home, and I did work from home for about 1 week, and then I don't like, I missed everybody, so I went back to work. And I have an office, and so we tried to do a split schedule. But yes, we're all back to work together, which is very nice. And I do commend all the nurses and the medical professionals. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any questions for me, if there's anything else you want coaching on or you want me to go more in depth about, I would love to hear your feedback. It would be great. Or you can send it through Jess.
That would be great.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a great evening and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here.
No, thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You.
Have a good night.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
So I didn't save it right, Jess?
What's yep, I think I can save it because
Okay.
yep, I'll